Hi everyone, thanks so much for tuning in and listening for the webinar. We're excited. We haven't had one for a while, we're just saying, so we're excited to be back with all things teaching in the UK. I guess I'll just do the acknowledgement of country first, and then we'll kind of get into the webinar. I just want to respectfully acknowledge the traditional custodians of these lands, the Wurundjeri peoples of the Kulin Nation on which we are meeting today. I'm based in Melbourne. We recognise the continuing connection to the lands, waters and skies, and we pay our respects to elders past and present and extend that respect to all First Nations people present today. I guess like to meet the team who will be hosting it today. My name's Olivia, Liv. I'm based in Melbourne, so I support from this side of the world. My role is supporting those that are heading over to the UK. I'm originally from New Zealand, primary teacher, but I've been working for ANZUK for 3.5 years now. I lived in London for 2 years, a few years ago now, back in 2017, and did a bit of teaching there before getting into a recruitment job.
Hello, my name is Delaney. I am the International Arrivals Consultant over here in London. So I'm obviously from Oz myself. I made the move over nearly 3 years ago, which is really scary to say out loud. So I've been living and working in London for almost 3 years. Joined the ANZ UK team originally as a teaching assistant when I first moved over. So worked in schools over here, and then got a job through the office after about 5 or 6 months of working in schools. My background is in youth work and social work, so I've always worked with young people. So this kind of felt like a natural jump for me. My experience in that sector is within secondary schools as well. Also always been in the school sort of area. That's a bit about me.
Hi, I'm Jenna. I'm an education recruitment consultant here at ANZ UK. Bit of background, I'm originally from Zimbabwe, then I moved to Canada, then I moved to the UK, and I've been here for the last 3 years. So I've done the same move that you're thinking of making, just from potentially a different country. I've been in education recruitment for the last 3 years as well. So I'm very excited to help you with your journey.
Stunning. So for anyone that's new to ANZ UK, there's a few people that are in here that we've already spoken with. We've been around just over 20 years now. So initially we were founded the company sending teachers to London from Australia. And now, we're a pretty global country. We're across, Australia, the UK, New Zealand and the States as well. We have a team over 300 people across our globe supporting people throughout their entire journey, whether they're just beginner graduates or like going into the executive space and kind of everything in between, as well as all your support staff roles as well. We are free of service charge, so there's nothing that costs you to join us and work with us, a few different offices in the UK, which we'll obviously get into as we kind of go on. Covering hopefully all the kind of, I guess, introduction to moving to the UK with ANZ UK, things like the life admin, all the work opportunities we're able to provide for people, community, and how we support everyone in their move over. I guess there's like lots of different reasons why people want to teach and like move abroad. I know for me when I moved over, I was a fresh grad, so I was just trying to figure out what I was doing, with my life, to be honest. I was pretty young, so and I think just that personal growth was a pretty big one in experience, like life experience. Being able to travel was pretty like top tier for me. They tend to be the two main ones, and then obviously the career development piece as well. Obviously teaching overseas in general is really highly regarded, especially when you come back, which hopefully you do back to Australia or New Zealand, or wherever else you go. The principals and schools love to see that you've had a bit of international teaching experience, and that PD that kind of goes into it all as well. I think just like the general experience living in another country is awesome. I'm not sure what you girls kind of like were the same when you were looking to move over, like the reasons, or?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, my main reason was travel, if I'm honest. I
Hmm.
wasn't overly keen on the UK side of things, but now that I'm here, I obviously really like it. My whole thing was like, I can go to France for the weekend, or I can go to Spain for the weekend, or, you know, in summer I can see 4 or 5 different countries at once in like a 2 week span. So that was kind of my drawing card. I, not having a teaching background, I came over having no idea what I wanted to do. So I was just like, let's just dive into the deep end and see what happens. And I found going through an agency and working in education was probably like the easiest transition to do. Like the agency just kind of did everything for me. So I felt really settled really quickly. So yeah, lots of personal growth along the way, which is good. You always have those moments where you're like, oh my God, what am I doing? I'm in a different country. What am I doing with my life? But yeah, that life experience and that personal growth for me has been absolutely huge.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
I was quite similar. Just didn't know what I was doing, didn't know what I wanted to do. Thought, let's go do some traveling and get some life experience from the School of Life, and here we are.
Yeah. Honestly, these things you look back in, like, 3 years in or whatever, and you're like, oh wow, like I'm so different to, when I moved over and things like that, and things that you probably don't even realize that you learn, unless until you come back and you're like reflecting on it all. But yeah, I think Delaney, you're going to go through the journey
Yeah,
piece.
I'll jump through this. So, steps in your journey with ANZ UK. As I said before, the agency does a lot on your behalf for you. So, I found that transition really, really easy. In terms of the steps and what it would look like for an educator, you'll have your initial contact, and your initial contact is when you'll likely speak to a consultant from your home country, whether that's Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and basically that initial conversation is to chat through just the initial thoughts and process stages. So we're looking at visa options, we're looking at flight times and all that kind of fun stuff, and just to answer any initial questions that you have, because we know that there are lots throughout the whole process. So it's just a good way to touch base, ask any of the questions that you've always been umming and ahhing about, and then we can sort of get the ball rolling from there. What will then happen is you'll get contact from somebody over here in the UK. So at the moment for London, that's myself. If you're heading to any of our other UK destinations, it will be one of the consultants within those teams. But basically, that link up there is then your link into the UK sort of system over here. So in our initial chat, usually what I do with my educators is we book in like a half an hour slot. We have like a little bit of a web chat. So we do like a video call. It's always much easier than a phone call trying to work out the time differences, which we were just talking about before. And just chat through, yeah, following on conversation from that initial chat from your consultant in your home country. So we'll kind of get into a little bit more of like the nitty gritty sort of stuff. From there, once you've got your visa sorted, or you at least know when you're going to be doing your visa, or you know when your flights are going to be, or have booked your flights, we'll then look at booking in your registration and beginning that compliance process with you. We usually begin that process about 2 months before you arrive into the UK. There is a reason for that. There's quite a few compliance documents that we will have to gather with you, and some of them have to be within a certain time frame. So we do it within 2 months, and I promise 2 months is plenty of time to get things sorted. Over here in the UK, we get our compliance process and registration happening and cleared within about 7 to 10 days. So 2 months for us is plenty of time. But basically throughout that process, we go through all of the documents that we need to have you fully cleared and vetted for work over here. There are quite a few things on that list, but as I said, we step you through every single document, and it's generally things that you'll have on hand anyway. So hopefully it makes lots of sense and I can kind of step you through that. Then basically when you arrive into the UK, once you touch down, we will always, always, always invite you into the office to come in, meet the team, get you all set up in person. It's always so much nicer when you get to see somebody in person after speaking to them for such a long period of time, and just get to know your team as well. It's a good way for the team to get to know you, what your preferences are, where you're thinking of living, where you're thinking of working, and then we sort of take it from there. By that point, the aim is to have you fully cleared for work. So if you wanted to, you could work the following day after you touch down. Not many of educators obviously choose to do that because you're probably going to be a bit jet lagged and you want to like ease into London living. So yeah, we have you cleared for work as soon as you get here, so that way you have that flexibility if you want to. Yeah, then pretty much from there, you're in the classroom, you're teaching, whether that is in daily supply, which we'll go through a little bit later, which is like your CRT work, or, you know, in a contract, setting up trials and interviews and things like that for you as well. So as soon as you're wanting to start work, the aim is we have you cleared and ready for that time frame that you're wanting to get into it. So you'll have lots of contact from us throughout the whole process, from the teams over in your home countries, from the team over here in the UK as well. So anytime you have queries or questions about anything leading up to your arrival, we're always here to support. And then once you have arrived, you'll get your own consultant that will be like your go-to person once you're here, who will be able to support that process once you're here on the ground, which is what Jenna will do with her educators. So once you go through the whole onboarding process with Liv, myself, or any of the other consultants in Oz, New Zealand, Canada, then you'll get passed over to one of the lovely consultants like Jenna, who'll be taking care of you from there.
Perfect. And should also mention in terms of like timelines and things like that. Obviously, people's journeys are all quite different. Sometimes people are leaving within like 2 weeks. Some people are leaving within like 2 years, kind of thing. So this initial contact call with someone like myself in Australia, New Zealand, etc., can happen at any stage. But we pop you in touch with the UK team, someone like Delaney and Jenna, from like maximum 12 months out. So that gives you like heaps of time to feel prepared and sorted and things like that. But yeah, sometimes there's like quite a bit of time between those two calls. But yeah, just if anyone was wondering around timelines and things like that. But I think Jenna's kind of going to go into when the best time to arrive in the UK is.
So obviously our academic year here runs from September through to July. We sort of do have the different terms that break down sort of three main terms: autumn, spring, and summer. It sort of is dependent on what you are looking for, whether you are wanting a longer term contract or whether you're wanting to come over and do just sort of casual supply work. But as you can sort of see, the terms are broken down. And then within the terms, you have half terms. So if you think of it as there's 6 different sort of terms within the school year. We obviously have our longer holidays from the 24th of July, usually to the first week of September. So that over the summer holiday period, that's when we sort of expect you to be doing your Euro summer anyways. So if you are looking to come over and you're wanting to do a contract full-time within the same school for the entire academic year, coming over for September, for example, we always recommend to maybe arrive a few weeks before the academic year ends, and that is just so you can have a chance to maybe go see some schools in person, maybe have some interviews, go in for a day to see how you like the school and how they would like you. It's just sort of recommended to give yourself a little bit of buffer time to do those sort of interviews if you are looking to sort of contract for the remainder of the academic year. And I would say that's sort of the same with each term, because sort of with each term there would be opportunities for longer term contracts. And what we offer as well with schools is to do an initial call with a school over Microsoft Teams, over Zoom, over Google Meet, whatever it might be, to have a conversation about yourself, your experience, and see if that would be a good fit. And then we say, look, you're going to be in the UK from this date, would you like me to come in, and we can sort of see how things go. But that's just sort of a rough breakdown of, you know, if you were wanting to come over and do something like that. I think even if you're coming over to do some casual sort of supply work, it always is a little bit of an easier transition if you go with the academic year. So if you are coming over for September, or if you're coming over right now, we're about to do our October half term, which is next week. So then obviously from November 3rd onwards, we'll have our second half of the autumn term. So it's just sort of keeping in line with when things are sort of happening within the academic year.
Yeah, I think just on that as well, sorry to jump in, just on that as well, I think schools Like, we do get contracts that do pop up throughout terms as well. So if you've already booked flights and you're starting to get worried about that, please don't panic. It's completely fine. We do get contracts that pop up all throughout the year. It's just easier for schools when they have an educator starting at the beginning of a half term or the beginning of a term. It just helps with that continuity for students as well. But if you're unsure about timings, or if you haven't booked flights yet and you are flexible, please feel free just to ask us, send us a message. We can always get this calendar across to you if you want to have a look through when the timings of that are, or if you're not sure when will be the best time. Like, I know I've got an educator that was coming over looking for a contract in January. She was originally coming at the end of December. She's now coming at the beginning of December so that she can do some supply throughout December and then do some trialing and some interviewing to get something locked in for January. So if you have that flexibility, it's always going to be that little bit easier for your transition. But please don't panic if you don't. It's completely fine. We can always work around it. There are ways that we can work around that as well.
I was going to say as well, even if you have already booked flights and you're coming at maybe an arbitrary time, doing that bit of supply work, getting you in front of schools, it does help when getting a contract, because a lot of the time schools will reach out and say, oh, you know, that lovely teacher Delaney that was in and did some supply work, she's fantastic. I've got this year 4 teacher role, would she be interested? And it's just then in a familiar phase, it can sometimes be an easier transition. So sort of either way that you go, we'll be able to help. But yeah.
100%. Cool. Thanks, girls. That was really good, because it was obviously quite different to the Australian and New Zealand term dates in the academic year. But yeah, I'm going to run through some of the visa side of things. This is obviously probably the number one thing we get asked about, and the type of visa you'll apply for obviously depends based on your background, your age, where you're based. There's lots of different things, but I guess the most popular visa that people do go over on, it's called the Youth Mobility Scheme visa. That's what I was on. I think majority of people we work with, that's what they are on when they head over to the UK. So it's a 2 to 3 year working holiday visa. So it's 2 years and you opt to get a third year if you would like to, like Delaney, she's done that. So yeah, it's a once in a lifetime visa. So once you've applied for it and you have done it, you can't reapply for it again down the line. But yeah, you can apply for it if between 18 and 36. And yeah, it's pretty straightforward, to be honest. There's 2 kind of costs that come with it. You've got your application cost here, which is £319. And then on top of it, you have what they call the immigration house surcharge, which is £1,500 per year. So you times it by, for the 2 years, £776 per year. So what that is, to break it down, because obviously it's quite a cost, that means that you're covered by the NHS when you're living over in the UK. So that the dentist is really cheap. It's free to go see a doctor and things like that. So yeah, you pay for the whole 2 years up front. So even if you're looking to go over for 12 months, 6 months, or whatever it might be, you still pay for that whole 2 years when you are applying for the visa, and you can apply within 6 months of heading over. So if you're looking to go over this time next year, you can apply for it kind of March, April onwards. If you're moving over for January, you can apply for it now. But yeah, it's a fairly smooth and straightforward process. And we have a visa support team who can help you with your visa application as well. They also help with another visa. It's called the Ancestry visa. That was a bit more limiting. You've obviously got to have one or more grandparents who are born in the UK, but yeah, it gives you 5 years to live and work in the UK. There's no age limit on it, so you can apply for it at any stage of your life, which is nice. So I've had quite a few friends who do the 2 to 3 years on the Youth Mobility Scheme visa, and then they're eligible for the Ancestry, so they'll apply for that to give them another 5 years. But yeah, it's obviously quite expensive, because yeah, it is, for 5 years of paying for that house surcharge. Otherwise, yeah, there's a few other visas. Your UK passport, which is like the golden ticket, and then if you're lucky to have a partner that's from the UK, there's another visa route you can go down. There's a new visa they brought out a few years ago. It's called the HPI visa. Again, it's only targeted at people. These are only two Australian universities that you're eligible. But if you've graduated from the University of Melbourne or the University of Queensland from the last 5 years, you're eligible for a 2-year visa. There's a few Canadian universities in there as well. But yeah, otherwise, and then you've got the skilled worker visa, which is sponsorship pretty much. So yeah, that's pretty tricky. It's not really like a route we go down, to be honest. It's super limited. It might only be secondary maths and science kind of, that would be the only subjects. But yeah, happy to provide any further information around that. and things. Sometimes we do have schools that we work with that are able to offer it, but yeah, it's pretty far and wide, to be honest. But yeah, anything else you guys want to add to that, the visa slide?
Yeah, I think the question that we get asked a lot is around sponsorship visas, because
Mm,
obviously with the youth mobility visa there is an age limit, and then not everyone is eligible for an ancestry visa or UK passport and things like that. Sponsorship visas are also known as a skilled worker visa. We get asked a lot about that and how that sort of works. At the moment, what we understand is sponsorship in London in particular is quite difficult to come by. If you're open to going out into other areas of the UK, there is a little bit more flexibility on that side of things, but you will have to meet specific requirements, and the schools also have to meet specific requirements as well. They need to have sponsorship licenses, and not every school will have one of those, and it does come with an additional cost as well. So sponsorship is definitely something that we can assist you looking at, but it's not the normal pathway that we work with most of our educators, just because the limited availability to that, particularly within London. And I know a lot of people have their hearts set on London. So just to be completely transparent about what that looks like. But as Liz said, if you've got any other questions about it, please feel free to ask us. More than happy to support. And I know Jenna's done quite a lot of work with educators in the past through that route as well. So if you have any queries about those ones, please feel free to ask the questions. Feel free to put it in the chat box, or yeah, if you want to message us later, we'll put the email at the end so you can flick us an email. Okay.
perfect. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. So yeah, we're going to go into the UK offices and where we're based. And Delaney's going to kick it off with the London.
Yay. Cool. So London. London is, I would say, tends to be the most common, this most common city that most of our educators will want to go into. Personally, love London. It has lots of access to lots of things. I think that's what's one of the biggest selling points. In terms of most important things that people ask us, it's always about rent costs, cost of living, and all that sort of stuff. So we're looking at the finance side of things, of course. So in terms of rental costs within London, a room in London, pretty stock standard, anywhere between £800 to £950 approximately per month, plus bills. London has a higher price tag than most cities in the UK, so that's just something to keep in mind. Personally, if you're going into a share house with a group of people, I personally wouldn't pay more than £950 per month, because it can become quite extortionate. You can see rooms available for like over £1,200, which is quite high, but just keep your wits about you when you're looking at things like that, because there's quite a few different areas within London that will be higher price tags than others. The closer in you go into that central part of London, the more expensive it's going to be. But yeah, generally you're looking between £800 to £950 approximately. In terms of public transport, we have what's called an Oyster card over here. You can also just tap your phone as you're going in and out of public transport. Public transport in London is absolute king. You've got your tubes, you've got your overground trains, you've got your railways, you've got buses, there's even trams in some areas. That the public transport in this city is insane when it works really, really well. So in terms of public transport, you're probably looking around £184 per month on a monthly pass. Most people I know just tap in and out on their phones because it's just easier, but you can definitely look into that. And then in terms of cost of living, unfortunately, London does have that higher price tag for things. So at the moment, pretty stock standard in most pubs in London, you're getting a pint for about £7, which is around about $14, which is really painful to say. But you can definitely find some cheaper places as long as you go a little bit further outside the central part of London.
Perfect.
And then we've also got our little sister friend down in the south called Surrey. Surrey is beautiful. It's down in the southwest part of England. If you're living in Surrey, you can also access London really, really easily. If you look on a map, there's kind of like a little borderline that we kind of separate our Surrey and our southwest London team into, but you can also access either of them quite easily. I live in southwest London, and I can get into our Surrey office within about 45 to 50 minutes. So it's not actually that far to get into. Surrey is a really good option for those educators who are still looking for that access to London, but maybe the hustle and bustle of the city is a bit too much. So we do find that a lot of our educators from regional areas often like going into places like Surrey. It is quite a big area, so just keep that in mind. Sometimes you may need to access a car if you're going to some parts of Surrey, so just keep that in mind as well. In terms of rental costs, room in Surrey, you're looking between £500 to £700 per month. So obviously a little bit cheaper than London, and then monthly pass for public transport is about £95 per month, which is obviously a bit cheaper again. And then again, a pint is a little bit cheaper even again. So we're looking at about £6 for a beer or a pint of cider. So a little bit cheaper the further you go out from London.
And then we have our lovely Essex area. So this is sort of more east of London, and rooms there are about £700 a month. I would say with Essex, it's one of those where you can again get into London very easily, but you can very much escape the hustle and bustle. I've been to Essex quite a few times myself. You can make a really nice weekend out of it. There's some really nice nature-esque areas of it, but you can also have some really fun, busy, buzzy sort of areas of it. So that is why we put up public transport costs of just depending on if you're living in London and traveling to Essex, or if you're basing yourself in Essex and perhaps traveling into London. So it is sort of just dependent on all of that. But good news is the cost of a pint is a little bit cheaper, about £5.
But you can always tell like the price of a place based on the cost of a pint, the further like out of London you go. And then we have an office over in Wales. So our office is actually in Newport, which is about 10-15 minutes away from Cardiff. Cardiff being like the capital, obviously. So it's a lot cheaper really to live there, between £500 to £650 per month approximately. Your public transport's a lot cheaper as well, and again your pints getting cheaper and cheaper. Something a bit different. It's still like a big city like Cardiff. I went there for a sports game when I lived over there. It's really cool. But just like a bit quieter than obviously London. Do you know what I mean? Heaps kind of going on, and you don't need to speak Welsh if you don't. So don't stress about that.
Cool. And then we've got the lovely Bristol. So Bristol is also a really popular spot for those people who still maybe want that city experience, but maybe on a smaller scale. So Bristol's quite a cool city. I say that in such a weird way, but it is a cool city. There's lots of art, lots of culture, lots of music. It's got like quite a buzz about it. And there are quite a few universities in the area as well. So it can have that uni town sort of vibe. So there's always lots going on. In terms of pricing, room in Bristol, you're looking between £500 to £750 per month, depending which area that you sort of go into. And then monthly pass for public transport's around £71. So again, even cheaper. Just keep in mind, obviously, when you're not in London, the transport links are still quite good, but they're not as frequent as the transport links in London, which is why the transport's often a little bit cheaper. And then a cost of a pint, we're keeping that nice and low at around £5, which is lovely. But Bristol's a really cool option if you're still wanting that mix of both, quiet life, but still city, but still feeling in and amongst it, but not too sure if London's going to hit that spot for you. So definitely don't sleep on Bristol. It's a good choice.
Yeah, Bristol's awesome. It's got an international airport too, so easy to travel and get away for the weekend. And a great music scene too.
And then if you are looking for potentially a more of a quieter life within the UK, there's our lovely sort of Hampshire office. So Hampshire itself is gorgeous, it's beautiful, it's serene. I've been to a few different parts of Southampton, and rent here again, it just is dependent on where you're going to be living. So you're looking about £550 to £800 for a room per month. Public transport again is a little bit cheaper than what we've been looking at, but it is because, as Delaney said before, the public transport links are good, but they're not London good. So you're not going to be able to get around as maybe quickly as you were before. Maybe one of those ones where, if you're looking to live this part of the country, maybe looking into a vehicle, just to get around a bit quicker and easier. But we do love the cost of pints, again, about £4. But I recommend when you do move over, definitely take a trip down to that side of the country, because it is absolutely gorgeous.
Awesome. So this is probably the next biggest question we get after visas is how do we find somewhere to live? So there are a few different ways. And yeah, bear with me while we kind of like whiz you through this. But basically in terms of what we suggest is when you first arrive into the UK, we usually recommend having at least 2 to 4 weeks in some temporary accommodation. And that temporary accommodation can be anything like a hostel, sublet, Airbnb, budget hotel, that sort of situation. That temporary time frame is just going to give you that time to go out and view properties on your own. So you can see where you potentially may live. So, if you want to apply for somewhere, that you can actually see what the property looks like. We always say absolute big no is don't put any cash down for any long-term accommodation without having seen it yourself or having had someone go and view it for you. Yeah, we just hear of like horrible stuff like scams and stuff happening, so just be wary around that side of things. But in terms of finding sublets and finding long-term accommodation, there are a few little tips and tricks that we can suggest. Obviously, the most important one, do lots of research into the areas that you might be interested in. If you have absolutely zero idea where to start, please ask us and let us know. Obviously, us three having lived and worked in the UK, we have quite a few of our own areas and places that we like as well, and we can send you through some information around that. There's also quite a few hot pockets of London in particular where you will find lots of expats. So you'll find lots of Aussies, lots of Kiwis, lots of Canadians in that little pocket. And then same thing across the other cities in the UK. One thing that's really, really important as well is just take note of the features of a property. It is different to renting in Australia and New Zealand. So things like, is there a shared living space? Is there an outdoor area? Is there a living room? All that sort of stuff. Because sometimes in some properties in the UK, you'll notice that living rooms sometimes get turned into bedrooms. So then you won't actually have a living room with your housemate. So just be aware of those sorts of things. And then another thing as well, take note of is things around, is it furnished? Is it not furnished? A lot of places in the UK tend to come furnished, which is handy, especially for your big ticket items like beds and wardrobes and things like that. So just take note of those little bits and pieces. And then once you are here, as I said, use that time to go out and apply for properties, go and see properties in person. One thing as well is, sometimes when we move over, we have this idea of an area that we're really interested in living in. And when you get here, you're like, I don't know if this is actually my vibe or not. So it's really important to go out and see those areas yourself as well and make that judgment call yourself. In terms of, living in the UK, rent is always usually commonly paid on a monthly basis. So you won't pay like weekly or fortnightly for rent. As I said, most places are already furnished, which is lovely. And there are also lots of subletting options. Really, really common in the UK is subletting. So often people will put their room up for rent for, it could be like 2 to 4 weeks while they're traveling back home to see some family. So you can temporarily get locked in for that accommodation. It's a really good way to meet people as well. Often, people will sublet a room off somebody who's already in a share house. So you can meet a bunch of people that way, which is a really nice kind of like transition into your UK experience too. And then a really, really common place to look for rentals is spare room. Spare room is an absolute like wonder of an app. Download that app before you get here. Have a little bit of a browse on it. You'll be able to see, what type of rooms or properties you can get for what type of price tag in what areas as well. And then you can sort of like, once you've done that research, figure out, okay, well, what's my budget now once I've seen what I can get for my money in that sense. Spare room's a really, really good one. We've also got things like Rightmove. Rightmove is a little bit like realestate.com, similar sort of setup to that. So if you are moving over with a group of people, or if you and a partner or you and a friend just want to have your own property, you can obviously go through places like Rightmove and contact real estate agents independently, and they can help you find a property that way. If you're coming over solo, my main recommendation is go through Spare Room or going through a page like Aussies, Kiwis in London, or in Aussies or Kiwis in the UK. Great way to meet people. You'll find lots of people on there doing a similar thing. We often find people buddy up when they find people on those sites as well, which is really nice. So yeah, use that as a great networking tool for you. So Aussies and Kiwis in London or Aussies in the UK are absolutely great resources. I know it's a little bit like archaic using Facebook still, but really, really good for community in that sense. You'll find on Aussies and Kiwis, there'll be lots of stuff around events too, so you can go to lots of regular events and meet lots of people. But as I said, you'll be able to find those rentals on there as well. Every week on Aussies in London, they will have a weekly sublet post and a weekly flat post as well. So every single week on a Tuesday evening in the UK, that gets posted. And when you scroll onto that post, there'll be a bunch of different people that are just commenting on rooms that are available in their properties. So again, use that as like a bit of a tool to see what's available in what areas. But yeah, lots of options. I don't want anyone to panic about it. There are lots of options, but it is one of those things that we do recommend not locking in long-term accommodation until you're here, unless you have someone to view that property for you in person, or unless you've got someone on the ground that can go out and kind of sort that stuff out for you. So yeah, lots of options, but yeah, definitely lock into that temporary accommodation initially and then sort of go from there. Anything else? Did I get that all okay?
I think so. That was great. Yeah, it is like definitely the most commonly asked question that we get in all of our calls. So yeah, always ask us if you have any questions. And I think also like be flexible. I know my sister moved to London a few years ago and she was like, I want to live in Clapham, and that was it. I was like, there's lots of great areas just out of Clapham, so just like widen the net sometimes a little bit, because like they could be, I mean, if we're talking about London specifically, it could be literally a couple of minutes down the line on the tube. So like you're basically there, but you're not there. Do you know what I mean? So I think be flexible in that approach. But yeah.
Perfect. I'll quickly just run through in terms of the work side of things, the types of roles that we have available currently and the most common roles that you'll see that we work with. Stock standard, you've got your teacher, so primary, fully qualified primary or secondary teacher. We do also have teaching assistants, so your TA is what we call those. In Oz, New Zealand, you might hear them as called like LSAs or LSOs, so learning support officers, learning support assistants. Very similar sort of thing. And with a teaching assistant, generally you're working one-to-one with a child, or you might be working in a classroom and supporting different groups of children as well. We do also have something called a behaviour mentor. So a behaviour mentor is a little bit more of like a holistic approach to, I guess, kind of like a TA, but kind of more so around managing behaviours and maybe some mental health stuff in there as well. So, if you've got a background in counselling, psychology, anything to do with mental health services, nursing, that sort of stuff, behaviour mentor roles are really good sort of transitional roles for you as well. A lot of that behaviour mentor work is done outside of the classroom too, so you're not always sitting in the classroom through a maths lesson. If that's not your sort of vibe, helping kids do their academic side of things, you can definitely take them out and do some more mental health stuff and some behaviour stuff too. So that's quite an interesting role to do if that's something you're interested in. We have something called a cover supervisor as well. Your cover supervisor is sometimes what's called an unqualified relief teacher, and basically you'd be facilitating lessons on behalf of a teacher. So you wouldn't actually have a teacher in the room, you'd be facilitating the lesson yourself. You don't need to have any qualifications for your teaching assistant, behaviour mentor or cover supervisor roles, by the way. All of these roles you can do unqualified, and you don't necessarily have to have had experience. It's more of like a personality thing sometimes. So if you're willing to give it a crack, which our schools love to see, then you'll be absolutely fine. But yeah, your cover supervisor, you have to stand up in front of the class and facilitate that lesson on your own, which is not for everyone, but I promise it's not rocket science. You'd be absolutely fine. And then we have something called an exam invigilator. So it's around exam supervision. So we have a lot of exam work available when secondary schools go into their exam periods, and you might be doing exam supervision. So a little bit of a different role as well, but that is more casual work, and that's more seasonal as well. So just keep that in mind. So quite a few different things they're working with at the moment.
Awesome. So I just wanted to run through sort of the different work opportunities that we have available. So sort of starting with the most casual, sort of easiest to do, not easiest to do, but it's one of the more, you come over and you're not quite sure what you're wanting and you're just wanting to explore and wanting to try out different things, is sort of doing day-to-day supply. So if you are, there's a lot of people do start on this because they want to go to a range of different schools and try all the different things and work across all different age levels and just sort of see what would work best for them. That would be your sort of day-to-day supply. If you want to come over and do a sort of similar thing where you're trying different things out, but rather than every single day going to a new school, you wanted to try some maybe shorter block bookings, shorter fixed term contracts, that can look like that, a school will know that for half of a half term, they're going to have a teacher that is that is unavailable to come in. So you would be there for 3-4 weeks covering, or they know that someone's not going to be available for a month, or they've offered a role to someone and they can't start until the following term, whatever the reason might be. We can have those sort of shorter block bookings where you can try different things out, but at least know where you're going every single day, and know that you're going to have consistent work for the month or for the half term or whatever it might be. And then if you're looking for a long-term contract where, you know, maybe there is a maternity cover that you're covering that would take you from October half term to the end of the academic year, or it might be the entire academic year that you're wanting to commit to, or whatever the case may be, that is when we look at sort of those longer term sort of roles for you. Yeah.
Cool. And did you guys want to talk through our ambassador program that we can offer in London and Bristol too?
Do you want me to do Delaney, or do you want to
You
take
can
the
go
lead?
for it, Jenna. It's all you.
Okay. So our ambassador contract essentially is we would offer you guaranteed supply work. So it can be sort of up to 5 days a week. You can sort of we can have a discussion with how many days a week you're wanting to sort of commit to it. We recommend 5 days a week. There are a few sort of things around it where we would expect you to only be working with us and no other agency, just so we know that you're going to be completely available for those 5 days. But what we mean by guaranteed supply work is we will get you out to work for the day. And if we don't, then we will still pay you. But obviously we would expect that you would travel, you know, just over an hour to a school. You would be ready and available to leave the house by 7 in the morning and things like that. But it is a really great way for us to be able to get you out to in front of multiple schools and start getting you, you know, building those relationships with different schools and just sort of seeing what you would like, because there's so many different sort of settings in the UK, and it's a great way to know, oh, I actually did enjoy that and I didn't think I would, and I want to try that again. Can I go there for another day of supply if there's something available? And yeah, I think that, Delaney, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, it's spot on. I think the main thing just to be aware of, unfortunately, it's only available to our qualified teachers. So we don't do this for teaching assistants, behaviour mentors, cover supervisors. It's just for our qualified teachers, just because of the way that the market trend is going with the amount of work that we have for supply. So yeah, but it's definitely really good. I like to call it a bit of a fail safe, especially if you're not sure what you want to do. If you're a teacher, sign that contract before you leave Australia or New Zealand or Canada. It gives you that bit of a, you know, okay, fine, I know what I'm going to be doing as soon as I get there. I know what income I'm going to have each and every week. And then, you know, it just kind of gives you a little bit more stability for when you're first transitioning over here. So yeah, really, really good option if you're a teacher and you're not sure what you want to do. It'll just give you that, you know, that fail safe, that backup there.
Yeah, and you can definitely do both as well. Like, don't feel like you can only need to do supply the whole time or just a contract. Some people only want a contract the whole time they're over there. Some people only really want to do supply. I would say most people probably go kind of between the two, like the casual day-to-day side of things, and then your contracts, whether that's like a long term or like a fixed term, or whatever. So yeah, like Delaney said earlier, in the webinar, like roles come up throughout the year, too. So, but yeah.
So I just wanted to run through as well sort of the different types of schools and sort of settings that we support. So we will support you with whatever your preference may be, but my sort of biggest tip to everyone moving over is be open, and I think always just give something a try. So we sort of start with early childhood education. So that's your nurseries, that's your sort of that 3 to 5 age group, and then you would go to your primary schools and your secondary schools, and we do work with both public and independent schools. I would say that with just how the UK is in general, there are a lot more public schools than there are private independent schools, and that just it's just because of how many schools there are in the UK, and the public sort of school sector is a lot more. There's just a lot more of them than there are the independent schools, and the independent and private schools don't really typically need an agency to do their own recruitment, so they don't typically talk to us. So we sort of speak to more of the more public schools, but it's not to say that we don't have relationships with some really fantastic independent private schools. We do, but majority of the time you'd be working with public schools, and we do work with some really fantastic public schools as well, where you walk in and it sort of has that private school feel to us, I would say. And obviously as well, we have our schools as sort of SEN, special education needs schools, and that could be, we have a few that is the entire school. It's a special school. There's also another word for it, which is approved, so it's a provisional pupil referral unit, and that is again, that is, you are only going into a setting with the SEN students, and those schools especially, they have a lot of teaching assistant and sort of behaviour mentor and those sort of roles available, because the ratios within those schools are bigger. So it could be that there's a class of 10 students and there's 5 adults in the room, because they want as many adults in the room working with those sort of children. But I'm more than happy to answer any more questions on any of those things, and over the school settings as well.
Cool. So that just kind of feeds a little bit into pay rates. So these will always be confirmed with your UK consultant. It's hard to give a specific rate to everybody at the moment, because everyone will be on different rates based on your experience and your qualifications and all that sort of stuff as well. I can say though that our rates are competitive across London. Our long-term rates are also almost like fixed depending on your experience. You basically get a scaling across inner, outer and fringe London, and that's what we adhere to as well. In terms of supply rates, as I said, we do keep our rates competitive across agencies across London as well. But yeah, your pay is always going to be dependent on factors such as your experience, your location, if you're living in London, if you're living in Bristol, if you're living in Wales, so just keep that in mind as well. But one thing which is great, you do get paid on a weekly basis, which we love. So you always get paid on a Friday, which is lovely. So just in time for the weekend. And you get paid through either PAYE or umbrella. If that makes absolutely no sense to you, that's completely fine. PAYE and umbrella meant nothing to me until I started working in the company. So once you go through the process with us, just ask us about contracts. We're happy to run you through what that means. But if you see umbrella or PAYE written anywhere, that's just the 2 different types of contracts that we offer, and they're just 2 different methods of payment. So there's nothing crazy about them. It's just a different method of payment, really. But yeah, if you've got any queries about your pay rates and things like that, just send us a message and let us know.
Yeah, perfect. Because yeah, it's like a can of worms sometimes, because it all depends on everyone's all quite different. But yeah, I'll just run through our incentives and bonuses. So we've got 2 main ones. So the first one is under the our ambassador program that Jenna was talking about before. That's like the guarantee work. So yeah, if you sign that before you head off, you'll be eligible for £250 off towards your flights once you've worked 60 days, which is about a term over there. And then the other one is if you're looking for more of like the contract role side of things. So you're an educator and you signed a contract before you head off. You head over. There'll be £500 into your account once you've worked 60 shifts as well, so 60 days. But yeah, both tax free, which is nice. But our teams will chat you through all of that and things in close to the time.
Beautiful. And that takes us to our community and our events. I think one thing that ANZ UK as a global company, I think we can all attest to, is that our community is really, really important to us. We don't just say that, we genuinely really enjoy getting to meet all of our educators. It's a really fun time. You can literally see me in that picture laughing. I don't even know what we're doing, but there's one of our events that we had in London where we invite all of our educators to come, have a drink, have some food, get to know each other. And there's such important times for the consultants, but they're also really important times for our educators to get to know some new people. So I can only highly recommend them enough. We have pre-departure events all the time, which happen in your home cities. So yeah, please get along to those before you leave New Zealand as best you can. It's a great way to meet like-minded people, but also maybe buddy up and tee up with people who might be moving over at the same time as you, which is really nice, especially if you're traveling on your own. It's nice to have a little friend that you're going to be like, cool, I know you're going to be there at a similar time to me. Let's grab a coffee, let's grab a drink. And, it kind of gives you a little bit more of an aha moment. You know what I mean? So really try to get along to those as best you can. We do also have a Facebook group. Again, we love Facebook, but educators moving to the UK, if you're not in it, please join it. We have quite a few consultants in there from the UK. You can ask us questions. There's a group chat, the whole works. So it's a really good online option as well. And then, as I said before, we have our welcome events. So our welcome events are really important, an integral part to welcome you guys to the UK. Yes, we invite you into the office when you land, but we do also have really important events that we run throughout the year. So we have 3 major welcome events throughout the year, and they all kind of coincide roughly around about the time of the academic term. So we've just had a one for October, which was it last weekend, Jenna, or the weekend before? Weekend before, which was so much fun. All of my newly arrived educators that were pretty much from May up until September, we had about 60 odd people there, which was lots of fun. So we have a next one, which usually happens in February, and then the next one happens in May. So please get along to those if you can. You can obviously bring a friend, bring a partner if you feel like you're a bit uncertain or going on your own. But please just make sure you've got eyes on those. Keep on top of the socials that we have, Instagram, Facebook, all the works. There'll be stuff on there all the time. You'll always get information about when the next upcoming event is anyway. And then we also do other events throughout the year. So we often do a Christmas party, which we'll have at the end of this year as well. We have a summer party for our educators. And then we do lots of events throughout the year. So we do like a mini Pilates series. We have got a qualified Pilates instructor that runs Pilates sessions for us, with things like theatre trips, even like coffee drop-ins, like all that sort of stuff. So please, please, please get along to those as much as you can. We love it. It's a great way to get to know you guys, but it's also a great way for you guys to get to know us as well, the people that are going to be taking care of you for the duration that you're here and working with us. So yeah, definitely cannot toot that horn enough. Yeah, we love it. We're all about it.
We are. Cool. Well, that's pretty much, that wraps it up really. We've got a bit of time for some Q&As. Feel free to pop any in the chat, or take your mic off and ask any questions that you might have that you want further clarification on, or who knows, I feel like we get asked all the questions. So but yeah, in the meantime, I'll just we have a referral scheme as well. So if you refer a friend, you'll get some money once they've worked at some time in the UK. Just let either your consultant in the UK or Australia know. I think Lynn has a question.
Hello, this is Lynn. Can you guys hear me?
Hi, yeah, we can.
Hello, yeah. I just want to ask, what are the requirements as a teacher? So I'm an international student, but I graduated from Melbourne Uni. So I think I might get HPI. So I'm working in one of the school in Melbourne as learning sport, but I want to be a teacher. So next year I'm going to keep my teaching training. So I just want to know, if I only got a provisional registration, is it enough to teach in UK, or I have to get some working experiences in Melbourne first and then transfer to full registration and then I can go to UK?
Yeah, you can go over as a graduate. We work with lots of graduates who do. You just need your teaching qualifications, and that's all. So yeah, in the UK they have QTS, which is qualified teacher status, which is like your VIT equivalent, kind of. You don't need it to teach. It's confusing because obviously you need VIT to teach in Victoria here, but you can teach for up to 4 years without having QTS. In the UK, you're an overseas trained teacher. So yeah, if you're looking to stay for longer than 4 years, which I mean, a lot of people don't, just because of the visa restrictions, so they're usually under that 4 year time. Then yeah, you can go over as a grad. That's fine.
I don't actually need any working experiences. Do they only recognize VIT, or what if I train in Perth, other states in Australia, and I get registration in their board? Do they also recognize that?
Yeah. As an agency, we just need your teaching qualifications, to verify that you're a teacher, if that makes sense.
Okay, so it doesn't matter which state I get my teacher recognition?
No, it doesn't matter. No.
Okay, cool. Thank you. That's lovely.
Yeah.
And also, I do want to ask, if as a maths teacher, like a secondary school maths teacher, is that easy for me to find a position, or how?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll be fine. Okay.
Maths and science is always in demand. We get a lot of English and humanities teachers that come across, but we don't get as many maths and science teachers. So please, any maths and science, come our way.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. So just double check. I don't need working experiences as a teacher, right? I can just
No.
go at the newly graduate. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
because you'll
That's
have
great.
your placement experience anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Thank you. That's great. Thank you.
No worries. Are there any other questions? I know there's one about the app for like spare room. But yeah, if anyone's got any other questions, but yeah, I guess to wrap up, just thank you, so much for joining us. I know it's nearly 7 o'clock here in Victoria, but yeah, we'll be sending out a recording of this webinar as well as like all the slides. And yeah, we'd love to have a chat with you, learn more about your plans if you're going in the next couple of months or in the next couple of years, who knows. But yeah, feel free to scan that QR code if you have it up on your computer. Otherwise, yeah, our team will be following up the next week or so anyway, with any questions that you might have and answering them. But yeah, I think we can probably wrap it up. I don't think there seems to be any questions coming through.
We're just so good. We just answered all your questions.
I
Just answer
know.
them.
Cool. Okay. Well, thanks so much, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thanks so
Thanks,
much.
guys.
Thanks. Bye.